Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
Right now on Local 4 News at noon, a standoff on the east side is now over, but there are still a lot of questions about the guns found inside. Was a shot fired? And the mental capacity of the man involved.
Plus, scathing indictment. Flint Mayor Karen Weaver addresses the water crisis once more.
What concerns me is that we're losing focus. We're losing focus of the real issue, and that's what the state wants us to do, not hold them accountable.
Coming up, the message she has for the state. And we're enjoying a mild Monday after record-setting weekend weather. Shaped up to be kind of a nice day, but the big question is, will we break another record? The winter warm-up tops our news at noon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Evrod Cassimy. Paul Gross is in for Brandon this afternoon with a look at what's on tap for us today. First of all, do we break a record over the weekend officially?
Both days.
Really?
69 on Saturday, 66 on Sunday. Both of those broke records.
I like
that.
Today,
we're cooler, but we're not going to break any records. So we're going from 60s to 50s today. But keep in mind, with all this sunshine, and we're kind of reminding ourselves it's mid-February, okay, we're going to take this. So let's talk about some temperatures right now. And basically, temperatures are just starting to come in. The update at the top of the hour, 51 at Metro Airport, 48 right now in Dundee, 49 at Adrian. Look at this, 54 degrees right now in Livonia. 50 degrees right now, all the way up in Pinckney, 51 in Ferndale, and go further north. We see some similar temperatures. Pontiac, you're at 50, 52 in Novi, 47 right now in Sterling Heights. I don't think it's updating there at Emmett. I think you're warmer than 39 degrees. But Port Huron, 46, Marlette, 45. Notice with that east wind coming off of Lake Huron, you're going to be cooler and kind of capped a little lower than the rest of us today. You can see the high clouds have been streaming across the state. These are just high, thin clouds. It really makes for a very pretty sky. If you haven't been outside yet, just take a look out the window. It's just beautiful. And through the afternoon, plenty of sunshine with those high clouds, mid-50s for a high, but cooler near the lakes. Everett, I'll be back with the weather for the week ahead and a storm we got to watch on Friday. Talk about that in just a few.
Paul, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Flint Mayor Karen Weaver is criticizing the state now for deciding to end water bill credits for Flint residents. The state had planned to extend the credits to the end of March, but then decided to end them at the end of February instead. Now, the state made the move because Flint water has met federal standards, but household filters were still needed. Mayor Weaver says that she asked a governor's advisor to describe what would define good water for Flint.
We asked, what does good water mean? Because we wanted more than just what the federal standards are requiring. We know we meet those when they test the water. We wanted more. We wanted tap drinkable without a filter. And when that was said, I said, ooh, I like that. I like that phrase. I'm going to start using it. Tap drinkable without a filter. So this is a trust issue.
Now, Mayor Weaver believes that the state water credits for Flint residents should extend until at least June. New at noon, an arrest has been made in connection with the deadly shooting of a father on Detroit's east side. 23-year-old Daquan Kemp has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder and felony firearms charge. Kemp is accused of killing Emmett Connor on Runyon Street on Friday. Connor was the father of 5 children. And chaos overnight on Detroit's east side. A man armed with a gun shoots at cops on Kensington Street. This is a story we first told you about on Local 4 News today, earlier this morning. Let's go live now to Local 4's Nick Monticelli. He's been covering this since it happened. And Nick, things supposedly started with a good deed?
It did. It's kind of interesting and strange how all this happened to understand. And if you look over here, hey, if just a moment, if you look over here, you can see what happened and all the items that may have been thrown at the officers, police officers, and the SWAT truck that was actually parked in front of this home. Now, recovered from this house was an AK-47, a .22 caliber rifle, a 12-gauge shotgun, and a 9mm handgun. However, what happened here sparks a much larger conversation about mental illness and how all of that should be taken into consideration. It ended like this, with the 39-year-old suspect coming out of his home with his hands up and falling to the ground, surrendering. But it took 8 hours as the Detroit SWAT team tried convincing him, even firing 40 tear gas canisters into the house. All of this started yesterday afternoon. The suspect's dog got into his neighbor's yard. As a peace offering, he gave his neighbor a Rolex. Hours later, he changed his mind and went to get it back, police say, with a gun. The neighbor handed it over, but called 911. And when police arrived, they say he started acting erratic, busting out windows and throwing things.
One shot was fired. One of our SRT members believed that the shot was fired in their direction.
Neighbors dispute that, saying he fired a shot hours before. Regardless, police knew he had a gun and mental illness. His aunt says he is both bipolar and schizophrenic.
He's not a bad person, sweet as he can be. But when that issue come on him, that illness, it's a different story.
Which is something even the police chief says is an ongoing struggle.
We are criminalizing those who are suffering from mental illness. If you're not treated, if a person's not treated with mental illness, invariably what happens, they commit criminal acts. And so then they're arrested. That's not how it should work.
Looking live at the home now, you can see the windows that are busted out from those tear gas canisters that were shot inside early this morning. The suspect in this case apparently was not taking his medication. He had not slept for days and was drinking at the time. His family thinks all of that contributed to what happened today. We're live on Detroit's East Side. Nick Bonacelli, Local 4.
A church service last night in Kalamazoo honored the victims of last year's mass shooting that ended with 6 people dead. It was 1 year ago today, in fact. Police say an Uber driver went on a shooting spree, killing the 6 people at random and injuring 2 others. Relatives of the victims say that they're finding comfort in the messages of support and a sense of solidarity with the families of the other victims.
It's great to be able to have people that not necessarily are feeling the same thing that you are, but are going through the same thing.
Organizers of last night's prayer service in Kalamazoo say the service was designed to help the families of the victims heal and to give them the strength to move on. And there will be another community event in Kalamazoo this evening, in fact. A candlelight vigil will happen at 6:30 p.m. at the Wings Event Center in Kalamazoo. Organizers say the vigil will remember the 6 victims of that shooting and honor the first responders who arrived at the shooting scenes last year. The event will also promote the Forever Strong Foundation, which aims to cultivate community strength and solidarity in the city of Kalamazoo. Opponents of President Trump are planning nationwide protests for President's Day. Across the country, dozens of Not My President's Day protests are scheduled in cities like Atlanta, Los Angeles, Chicago, and even Washington. The largest rally is expected in New York's Central Park, where thousands of people are planning to attend. Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence is in Belgium for a meeting with NATO, where he's working to reassure allies that the U.S. is committed to the treaty.
The United States' commitment to NATO is clear. As we speak, President Trump and our administration are developing plans to ensure that the strongest military in the world, in the United States, becomes stronger still. Let me assure you, Mr. Secretary, that in the United States, we're about the process of strengthening our military.
Pence's comments follow a weekend of controversy for President Trump as the commander-in-chief made some comments regarding Sweden that left many people scratching their heads. And those comments about Sweden were during a Saturday rally in Florida. Trump referenced the Scandinavian nation known for liberally accepting Syrian refugees during a section of his speech, decrying the dangers of open borders. Now Trump is trying to rectify the situation. President Donald Trump doing damage control after seemingly suggesting a terror incident happened in Sweden during his campaign-style rally in Florida.
You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
The comment sparked confusion worldwide. The president later explaining it was something he saw on TV, tweeting, "My statement as to what's happening in Sweden was in reference to a story that was broadcast on Fox News concerning immigrants and Sweden. That Fox News report, an interview with a conservative filmmaker who accused the Swedish government of covering up violent crimes committed by refugees. It aired the night before the president's rally."
There was an absolute surge in both gun violence and rape in Sweden once they began this open door policy.
Swedish officials are outraged. The Swedish embassy tweeting, "We look forward to informing the U.S. administration about Swedish immigration and integration policies." The White House told reporters the president was talking about rising crime in general and not referring to a specific incident. Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence is trying to reassure European allies of the U.S.'s support for NATO. This as the Senate Intelligence Committee tells the Trump administration to preserve all records related to Russia as they investigate Russian meddling in the U.S. election.
I'm afraid they're going to destroy the documents.
FBI Director James Comey held a classified briefing with senators on Friday. White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus denied any collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian operatives before the election and knocking down reports that Trump aides were in constant contact with Russians.
The top levels of the intelligence community have assured me that that story is not only inaccurate, but it's grossly overstated, and it was wrong.
All as President Trump is still searching for a new national security advisor after firing Michael Flynn for misleading the vice president about his communications with Russian officials. The president met with several candidates for the job over the weekend. Amid stories of dysfunction and chaos in the first month of his administration, President Trump escalated his war on the media.
I also want to speak to you without the filter of the fake news.
Suggesting on Twitter that the media is, quote, the enemy of the American people, end quote. The president's incessant attacks on the free press drawing sharp rebuke from politicians on both sides.
If you want to preserve democracy as we know it, you have to have a free and many times adversarial press. That's how dictators get started.
Later this week, Trump will unveil a new immigration executive order. This as questions remain over some of his other big campaign promises for day one, including Obamacare and tax reform. All right, still to come here on Local 4 News at noon. Personality profile. Russian officials are building a profile of President Trump for Vladimir Putin. We'll tell you what they're saying about our president. Plus, disappearing drugs, a dramatic increase in prescription drug thefts as investigators working overtime. We'll tell you where these drugs are disappearing from that has some raising their eyebrows.
I'm Gene Zane.
Welcome back, everyone. The Drug Enforcement Administration is investigating a dramatic increase in prescription drug thefts in the nation's Veterans Administration's hospitals. The Associated Press reports drug losses or thefts at VA hospitals have increased nearly tenfold since 2009. The Associated Press cites cases in several states, in fact, in which VA employees admitted to stealing pain-killing drugs for themselves or for other people. And in some cases, those drugs were intended for VA hospital patients. Investigators believe that the incidents are tied to growing opioid abuse across the country. Russian officials are building a profile of President Trump for Vladimir Putin. And among the profile's preliminary conclusions are that President Trump is a risk taker and can be naive. The profile is being built as Russian officials trying to get into the mind of Trump ahead of his first meeting with Putin. That meeting still hasn't been scheduled, leading some Russians to believe people close to Trump want to overthrow the president because of his ties to Russia.
Intelligence services against President Donald Trump. They want to overthrow him.
They want to overthrow him?
Yes, absolutely.
A coup?
Yes, we have, small coup.
Now, in recent weeks, Russian officials have started to fear the president is becoming too tough on his stance on relations with the country. Now, despite that belief, Putin still hopes to meet with Trump sometime in the near future. And as Malaysian police are continuing looking for 4 North Korean suspects in connection with the death of Kim Jong-nam, relations between the two countries are beginning to sever. Kim Jong-nam died last Monday at a Malaysia airport, and at least 5 North Koreans are suspected in that attack. And now North Korean government trying to enter the investigation, which is currently being led by Malaysian police. All right, still to come here at Local 4 News at noon. Communities in California are working to pick up the pieces after intense weekend storms. But the question is, could more trouble be on tap? Paul?
Man, you look at that video and you almost feel guilty about saying, yeah, another sunny day with temperatures about 20 degrees above average. But hey, that's the life we're living right now, and it's going to continue for a while. So we'll talk about that and when it's all going to come crashing to a halt. All of that just ahead.
Dean Seller.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It looks like we're expecting another nice day today here in Detroit. Unfortunately, Paul, those in California can't really say the same.
Yeah, this is not good news. I mean, California is bracing for another huge storm today. The region already experiencing record rainfall, and the fear is that this latest storm could cause more serious flooding problems. Take a look at radar here. We have this booted up here, and you can see just wave after wave of water just pushing on shore, and there's more out there. So this is just a stream. We call it the Pineapple Connection, bringing in just tons of water. 5 to 10 inches of rain are now possible over the next few days. So let's talk about our local weather now. Fortunately, we're not dealing with anything nearly of that magnitude, nothing serious for us, just trying to figure out how to enjoy these beautiful days. Look at that hazy sunshine out there, high, thin cirrus clouds. Temps already at or above 50 in many areas. The coolest spots are in the mid to upper 40s. And remember, average high right now is 36 degrees. So even if you're cooler today, you're still living large. It's just not as large as some other areas. So here we are in the regional view. These are high, those high, thin clouds we were talking about. You can even see them thinning out here a bit, but they do thicken up back to the west. That's where the rain is, and that's going to come in during the daytime hours tomorrow, and I'll time that out for you in 1 second. Just a closer view. Again, these are all those high clouds, and you can see here how they kind of thinned out right here. So some of us actually have just some blue sky, but you see there's more of that high cloudiness back to the west. So here's the latest model, this just into the weather computer just a little while ago. So you can see through the afternoon into the evening hours, we have no problems. Great evening ahead, obviously cooling off, but still great afternoon, great evening. And then here comes the front. I think we're going to be fine for the morning rush hour. Could be just a peak of hazy sun early on, but I think we're going to cloud up very quickly. So plan on clouds tomorrow. And I think this rain comes through midday, scattered showers, and then by the afternoon rush, not a lot going on, maybe just a couple of spotty little showers. So again, if we get the timing right, we'd be pretty lucky. We could squeeze in that band of rain in between the two rush hours. Wouldn't that be great? So high clouds with lots of sunshine today, mid-50s for a high. The east wind, of course, keeping things cooler for those of you on the east side near those big lakes. Staying in the 50s tomorrow, even with the rain, staying in the 50s. Close to a record high again on Wednesday, 60s there. 54 on Thursday, another nice day. Watching for some thunderstorms, maybe some strong ones. We'll talk about that in a second. Still in the 50s, and then becoming much colder as we head into the weekend. Now I'm going to show you, this is one computer model for Friday. Notice this is the warm front right here, and so we're in that warm sector. Notice how far north this warm front is. So we're well into that warm sector. Here's another model, and notice this is keeping the front farther to the south. Now, just before coming out here into the studio, I had another update to this model. Didn't even have time to show it to you here, but that has now moved things back closer to what I just showed you on that other model. So that would suggest more warm air, the possibility for some strong storms by late Friday. Still way too early to get specific, Evrod, but we'll certainly keep you posted through the week.
Sounds good, Paul. Thank you. Let's turn to good health now. There's a new study that has found an unexpected health benefit from the legalization of same-sex marriage. The federal law legalizing same-sex marriage took effect in 2015. And since that time, researchers found the frequency of suicide among high school students has declined by 7%. The suicide decline among gay teens was even greater. And although many of those teens had no plans to get married themselves, the study suggests the law reduced the stigma associated with sexual orientation. So to come here at noon, Impatient Pup. Next, you're going to meet a dog who has no time for monkey business. It's a viral video that you just can't miss. Keep it here. Replay song. And finally, here at noon, we have got to show you this video of an impatient dog behind the wheel. Check this out. Is that somebody laughing?
This is Diamond, and when his owners left him in the car to grab a quick bite, he wasn't happy.
Yeah, no. His owners say that they heard the honking and they hurried back, leading us to believe that Diamond has likely done this before. But he was hungry, you know, he wanted his food.
I was saying, he probably forgot to tell him what he wanted on his pizza.
Next time you go through the drive-thru, I think they learned their lesson.
Sure.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.